So ladies and gentlemen, before we move forward, I'd like to invite Andalit Ahmed, who's the president of the Women's Leadership Forum. She'll provide the opening remarks from overseas Pakistani Entrepreneurs Silicon Valley chapter. So please help me welcome her to the stage.
Hello everyone. Let's start our day by exercising our mind. I have a riddle for you all. The riddle goes like this. There was a father and a son. They were driving and they got into a very, very horrible accident. Unfortunately, the father dies. The son was rushed into the hospital, and while he was being wheeled to a surgery room, the surgeon looked down at him and said, "Oh, I cannot operate on him. He is my son." How is it possible? It's the mom, yes. So I have grown up asking this riddle to all my friends, but I never connected it this way, that it can be a mom. And the reason is the stereotyping of all these leadership roles are usually connected to a man, like surgeon, stand-up comedian, venture capitalist, entrepreneurs, founders. That's one reason we have to have these kind of events. Thank you so much for all our speakers, panelists, moderator, and our MC. Thank you so much. And I also want to say thank you to Netflix for hosting our event in this amazing state-of-the-art theater. So thank you so much.
Women are the founders. There are more with women and men as founders, and the majority of them are founded by men. Even worse, there's lesser amount of dollars that go into women founded companies. Whereas there have been studies that if a company is led by both women and men, they in general do better than companies which are only led by men. And again, one could argue a little bit here and there, but there have been quite a few studies of that. So what is going on? I mean, why can't we have more women founders and also more representation in the VC firms? So maybe I should start with you.
Yeah, I think there's no question about it that generally those numbers are true, and I do know that what's been happening over the last, I'd say like 2 years, 3 years, of just actually bringing up the conversation and raising the conversation has led to just a lot of improvement. I think we're nowhere close to where we should be, which is 50-50 at least. But we're making there's progress that's happening, and I think it's happening because we are having these conversations, and we're really taking to heart as men who need to be part of the solution what it means to fund women, get more VCs to be women. But it all starts out with this conversation we're having earlier today. We need to constantly encourage more women going into science, and that's obvious, right? Like and why? Because if you think about a lot of companies that aren't founded, they are founded by very pretty technical people. There's some that aren't, but a lot of companies that we look at in fact are founded by, and you want to have more technical founders, and you want those to be women. And if you look at and that's already happening, by the way. Like you look at a school like Harvard-Mudd, a great engineering college down in SoCal. 50% of the engineering school is all women now. Right? So that's happening across the country. If you look at top CS programs, it's already happening. And I have an example of our own. We run a thing called KP Fellows, Kleiner Perkins Fellows. It's an internship program every year. We selected this past summer 80 interns to go work for companies like Slack and Uber and Airbnb. And we had 50% women, so 40 out of the 80 were women. And 6 years ago when we started that program, it was 5% women. And it's trickled up from 5% to 10 to 15 to 20. One is because we're being more deliberate, because we're now we're identifying very talented women, as opposed to before, like, we just tried to find talented people. And we were a bit more, but now that we've widened the aperture.
Talent, because once you bring in that talent, then other people also join, so it's very interesting. Manal, your view on that?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts. Well, I mean, as an investor looking to invest in women-led companies, it's been interesting. A lot of times I'm searching for them and can't find them, or I just get like a lot of femtech kind of products. Like it's just another version of like we're selling a makeup, we're selling clothes, we're selling this, and they're all approaching me because I'm a woman VC. And I'm like, I'm also investing in AI and blockchain and other things, you know? And so that's one issue that I run into a lot, where I have to really actively seek out women who are starting companies in less traditionally female kind of spaces. Like I have a lot of blockchain and crypto related seed investments, and that's an area where there are very few women founders. You really have to like go to all the conferences and like really dig around to find, you know, those folks. And in many cases I've invested in women founders who tell me, oh, you know, I talked to several women VCs who were not interested, but you know, because there's so few, you know, even if few say no, you don't have a lot of other options left with regards to other women who can invest in you. And so a lot of my issue now, I had never really been focused on marketing my firm in any way. I was like, great, I'm getting the deals I need, so whatever. And now I'm like, oh, I should probably be doing that, because, you know, I get a lot of women who are like, I didn't even know you existed, right? You know, because I've been more under the radar, I think, than other folks. And so many of them saying, if only I knew you existed, like when I raised my seed round, and now can you come into my A round? And so, but I'm making progress. Like last month alone, I invested in a microbiome company led by women. It was my fund and Founders Fund, and then another woman there's a company that's revolutionizing kind of airport food and the quality and expediency of airport food, which is a really interesting issue. And another one doing a blockchain product, and also got investment from Polychain and a couple others, and so Polychain Capital. And so I've invested in it, and then one that just, it was me and Initialized Capital. That was more of a female-related product. In more of the media.
Any word of advice, Analia, let me ask you, for up and coming, you know, younger generation, what is your advice if they want to be founders and you know, start their own companies, or want to pursue a, you know, career in the medical field as you have?
Well, it's two very different things. If you have that entrepreneurial spirit and you want to solve problems, I would say there are so many different paths to going that direction. But I think the first thing is I personally would recommend finding expertise in something. So developing expertise in some particular field, whether that's medicine or law, or if you go into engineering or some other science field. I think that's super helpful. And then you can always do something with that subject matter expertise. It's, I think, a little bit easier to found something after you know what's going on in that particular industry. The other thing is, I think for women, I see this a lot as I talk to women all over who are looking for mentorship or looking for guidance, and I see a lot of imposter syndrome. And if you guys don't know what that is, it basically is the feeling and the thought that, hey, I'm not as good as my peers. It's not based in any truth, but rather just like sort of a psychological feeling that one gets. And it happens a lot in medicine. I talk to senior surgeons and women who have trailblazed, and they're like you know, the chair of their department at a really good academic institution, and they all feel it. I mean, I think Sheryl Sandberg has come out and talked about her feeling that way as well. So overcoming that and, you know, having some awareness of that, I think is really important. That, hey, you're a female, you can do it too. You know, part of it is also believing in yourself and knowing that, like, if you have an idea and you feel really passionately about something, even if you don't know how to fundraise, or you don't know any VCs, or you don't have any connections, you can still become an entrepreneur, and you can still start something, and you can still get to where you want to go. You just have to have some grit, and you have to be able to Google and network, I think, are two really good skills for adulting these days. So that's my 2 cents.
And so if we were to start with you, Jennifer, could you just share with the audience how you have made your way across the work landscape?
Sure. So I would say it was defined by my first 3 years outside of business school. I graduated from Stanford in '97, and within 3 years, I had been at 3 companies. 2 of them had been acquired. 2 of those were big companies, 1 small. So 2 of those businesses pivoted like incredibly while I was there. Netscape went from primarily a consumer business model to a business-consumer business model. Jungle was acquired, and Amazon went from having books, music, video to kind of launching all sorts of different products. During that time, kind of personally, I got married, had my first kid, moved from the Bay Area to Seattle, so it was completely defined by change. And I went from business development to product, and from product back to business development, so a lot of change. I think ever since then, I have been comfortable with change, excited by change. I've sought roles that have been defined by disruption and change. And I've been, you know, primarily in digital media and commerce, in partnerships or external-facing roles. Yeah, and that's kind of where I found my niche.
Okay, thank you. Dawn?
Yes, so I'm currently CEO of Credo Beauty. It's, everyone calls us the green Sephora or the non-toxic Sephora. So it's a little past startup, but still a small company. I actually started in a big company, so I worked at the Gap for 14 years. I worked before and after business school, and that provided a platform for me to learn every function and every role. I mean, I started in the factories and in sourcing, I worked in marketing, I worked in merchandising, I worked in strategy, I worked in the stores. I ended up launching and running OldNavy.com when the internet happened, and growing that, and then going into kind of an innovation/startup role within a bigger company. Since then, I have actually worked my way down the food chain in terms of size of company, and went to some medium-sized fashion companies. And then my role prior to Credo was actually at a very, pre-seed round startup, so very gritty. We did everything together, which time at which ended up being sold, acquired, and I moved on. So for me, I got a platform in big businesses and have used that all the way through as now I start running smaller companies.
All right, cool, thank you.
So I just talking about sisterhood, both Jen and Dawn are a really good friend of mine, and I have come across them over the last 4 years. Well, Dawn and I went to business school together, but we were not friends at business school because it was a class of 800. So
We would have been friends.
Yeah, we would have.
We just didn't know each other.
We were put in a situation in a startup. We became great friends. So. And Jen, it was after one of my startups, I was doing a consulting role, so Jen and I met in that startup, and and then I was going through some personal problems, so Jen and I cried together. Very important. So we worked together, all 3 of us, and Shella, I've known her for a while, with Open and Pre-Open, and so...
And a recruiting event that we ran and invited you to.
Oh, that is very true.
That's right, I met you.
That is very true. I forgot about that one.
Yes.
So it's a small world, and I do believe that women need to stick together and help each other. So my background, I think I'm a weirdo because I've had very different backgrounds. I've been at a corporate, actually large companies in Australia and at Lucent Technologies. Then I joined a venture capital firm. I had my family, 2 boys there. Then I started my own company, sold it, started another company that didn't do so well. consulted and then joined Deckers, which is a third friend of ours who started it. I helped her start it, then I went away, and then we joined, and then we sold it to Bed Bath & Beyond. We had sold Bed Bath & Beyond the whole concept of 3D AR, and Don, no, we didn't develop any technology, so I had to stick around to develop it for them after you left. And I was trying to leave in January, and then the CEO wanted me to do something, so I was thinking of, okay, let's start this innovations group for Bed Bath & Beyond because they're a huge retailer. So I'm in San Francisco, and when you belong to these innovation groups, the whole idea is to create something new and then probably spin out. So I'm in the process of figuring all that out. And
Decision making in large companies versus startups. And so all of you have kind of alluded to it, that when you're in a large company, and many of our audience are in large companies, you have to go through waves of approval and governance and get permissions. And in a startup, it appears to be less, therefore, but there's also the risk of making a bad decision. So there's the approval layer and there's the risk. When you're in a startup, your one bad decision can sink the company. Rarely does that happen in a large company. Do you have reflections as people are thinking of transitioning from one to the other, what they may want to keep in mind around making a significant decision?
Okay, so I tell my team this all the time. I don't really care if we make mistakes, it's how we handle them afterwards. So last weekend we had 2 major issues, and one team embraced it and fixed it, and 30 minutes later it was back and running, and the other team became very victimized and didn't deal with it and was like, oh, I have too much work. So just in general, in whether it's big company or small company, I feel very strongly about accountability on mistakes. In a startup, I definitely feel a lot more responsibility in my decisions, and I have less, as CEO, and that's specific to the role, I have less people that I can bounce ideas off of to make those decisions, because I would never want to do something there, I couldn't make payroll, or I had to fire people because of that. So I'm very aware of the weight of the responsibility of decision making. But there's few decisions I do believe that you can't test and learn, test and learn, test and learn, test and learn. So that's something, you said agile, I say it's a response to a mistake, but it's the more you can get that test and learn, so that when you do arrive at a fork in the road and you have to make a decision, you have enough confidence to make it.
so there are some decisions, in our case, acquisition, remember?
Right.
The first, we should have sold to the first company, but egos get involved and bad decisions get made. So I think, yes, there are some decisions that are really bad, but most decisions are not, and and you've thought through sort of a probability tree of where you are. So it is I've come across very seldom decisions where you've made them that are life-threatening. Usually Usually you've made so many poor decisions that that's where you end up. But it's usually not one decision that you can't backtrack from.
I'm going to ask my panelists to do a quick introduction of themselves, maybe a little bit longer than just a quick summary. So I'll start. Do you want to start?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Good morning. I guess it's still morning. My name is Asra. I grew up in Lahore, which is a bigger city than Punjab. Been working with tech startups. My first company was selling chocolates off of MIRC, which I didn't even know was a startup or could qualify as a startup. But it worked, and that was why I kind of was the richest kid in school. And after that, I started working for a job website called Rosie.pk, which is right now the largest job website in Pakistan. I was an early employee there, and from there moved to Dubai, built online infrastructure for governments and banks there, and now I'm working with Tim Draper, who's a venture capitalist. I am running our programs and partnerships, and essentially a lot of my job is helping build entrepreneurial ecosystems, because one of the things that I've noticed, one of the things I really believe in my life is that technology can really empower, especially women, because once you're financially independent, there's so much more, that it not only changes you as a person, but it changes the ecosystem around you. So how do we build these ecosystems and support them and kind of create bridges between Silicon Valley and outside? So that's what I do day to day.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, good morning everyone. My name is Hira Saeed. I grew up in Karachi, Pakistan. Again, I'm pretty new to the valley. My background goes like, I started my first company when I was 18. Maybe I was a kid at that time. it didn't do well. I had to continue my studies. I had to take a lot of bigger decisions in life. So I had to shut it down. Then I went to the corporate. I started doing work. I served the corporate for like 4 years or something. Then again, the entrepreneurship germ was always been there. So I had to resign from a job, and then I started another copywriting agency, and then I continued my studies in journalism. So I'm into tech journalism, and now over here in Delhi, I'm stated with Miller Center for Social Entrepreneurship. It's an accelerator based in Santa Clara University, and over there, my main part of the job is to work on the women economic empowerment and to bring gender parity in their programs and cohorts. That's all.
So I'm Esther. I don't think this is working.
Oh, the on switch is on the top.
I'm there. I'm Esther Wojcicki. I'm very happy to be here. Good morning to everybody, or good noon. I have never been to Pakistan, although I might like to go sometime.
This is your official invite now.
Yeah. You have to host already.
Yes, looks like that would be a good idea. So I'm a teacher, and I'm the founder of the largest media program in the United States at Palo Alto High School. It's called the Palo Alto High School Media Arts Program, where we have, right today, about 700 kids taking media arts. And the hidden agenda in this program, of course I'd like to teach them to write and to do all the media and all those things, but the hidden agenda is to empower them, and to empower actually all the young women who in general don't feel very empowered. But they do after they're with me for a couple of years. And so I have a couple of other claims to fame. I thought I'd just put them out right away. There are 3 of them actually. One of them is my oldest daughter, who is the CEO of YouTube. My second daughter, who's a professor of pediatrics at UCSF Medical School. And my third daughter, Anne, who's is the founder of 23andMe and the CEO. So the question everybody always asks is like, well, what'd you do to them? And so I'll give you a very short answer. I empowered them, but I wrote a book that'll come out in May of 2019 called How to Raise Successful People. And that tells the whole story.
on LinkedIn all day and night, just adding people, recruiters, agents, producers, coordinators. I was messaging everyone, reaching out to companies and messaging wherever I could just to ask if they've got work for me. I struggled, then I started networking. I looked for networking events, VFX events, and some organizations, recent organizations I started attending, and then that's where I met a line producer from DNET, one of the best companies that I work for. They have just recently won Oscar for Blade Runner 2049, and Ex Machina in the past, and Inception and Interstellar as well. So I went up to her straight away and I said, "Are you hiring?" And she was like, I explained my situation, and I got married, I became a mom, I'm struggling to get back to work, and she said, "Okay, take my email, my contact details, and send me everything you have, and I'll see what I can do." So I got home, I did that, and a few days later I got the job interview, and then that's how I became part of DNET now. And I'm working with some of our recent projects are Netflix, Altered Carbon, which got nominated for Emmy. I worked on Krypton, Superman's Story, and then also Mission Impossible, and some of the big projects we work on DNET.
Excellent. What are you working on these days?
I'm not allowed to speak.
Oh. You can get 3 minutes. Okay, that's next. We'll keep an eye out. So Mona, Maria, when you and I were talking, you are a lawyer and you write prolifically. But you did say that it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. So do you want to go into that a bit?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, so I didn't set out to be a writer. I graduated in 2004 from law school, and I got married right that year. Literally, I think a few weeks after my graduation.
Don't even know when that happens.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it's part of how we're raised in many situations, you know. So, I didn't set out to be a writer, and I wrote for a long time. And then the economy went south around 2007, 8. That's around the same time I passed the bar exam. So there were no jobs for lawyers. So I opened up my own practice and just tried to do what I wanted to do. And I had my sights set on being legal counsel at a company in-house at some point. And I got a job at Reuters, actually, to write legal blogs, and it paid. So I started writing for Hollywood about a year ago. A friend was looking for stuff, and I was doing journalism. So I said, "Let me write you a news show." And he said, "We love it. Now write comedy." I don't write comedy. He goes, "Just do it. You're funny." So I wrote something, and then I wrote a drama. And everything I have is based and so heavily rooted in the Pakistani culture and just growing up here. And so people really ate that up in Hollywood, and that made it to several, and I can't even name all of them. One of them was ABC. There's several other 3-letter studios that I'm not allowed to name for confidentiality reasons. It made it to more than one studio. I don't even know who has it right now at this point.
So it's circulating.
It's circulating in Los Angeles, and the feedback I got was just wow, wow. We love it. A lot of times they passed on it because they're like, this is not what we're looking for, but wow. And that was not just for one, that was for both screenplays that I wrote this year got that feedback. But even then, it's like overnight success. It's year 9.
Just one more year.
One more year before my show gets made.
Yep, to be an overnight success.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Maria. So Mona, you packed your bags, you left home. And
today, yeah.
And when you were 18.
I was 18.
And when we were talking, you said the best thing that happened to you was rejection.
Yeah.
And
rejection from what? Family?
From family to wherever you are right now. How has that journey been?
Well,
to you ending up being the naughty one.
Well, the naughty Muslim title was given to me by LA Times because LA Times did this huge article on me, and they were like, "Oh, we'll call you the naughty Muslim comedian," and I was like, I don't know how that's gonna go down for some people, but we'll find out. But I'm listening to you guys. I'm listening to your journeys, and my journey has been very different in the sense that I moved from Pakistan at the age of 15 from Karachi, and I was new to America. I didn't know much about anything, quite frankly, and but I just knew that I wanted to be an artist. That's what I wanted to be, and I didn't know how I was going to go about it. And You know, when I turned 18, I came out of my artist closet to my family, and I was just like, hey, listen, I want to be a stage actor. And my family was like, what? What is that? They were like, no. They gave me an ultimatum. They were like, either you're going to go to college and become a physical therapist. I don't know why they were obsessed with physical therapy. I have no idea. Maybe
Not good enough for a doctor.
not good enough, not good enough for a doctor. Maybe my family members have back issues they want me to fix. I don't know. They were like secretly just hinting, we have back issues, go to physical therapy school. Or they gave me an ultimatum. They said, or they were gonna send me back to Pakistan because my parents lived in Pakistan and I was gonna be married off. And I said neither. I was like, you know, I live in the land of the free. I am going to make my own choice. So when I was 18, I packed up my bags and I left. And I moved out on my own. And you know, you guys know, I mean, how many Desi ladies we got here? Come on. Round of applause. How many Desi ladies we got here? Ladies, you know that that's not a thing. That's like frowned upon, right? You just don't go pick up your bags and leave. You're supposed to be married off, right? But I'm a bit of a wild child, so I packed up my bags and I left, and I'm very proud of it. Quite frankly, that's like the single greatest decision I ever made in my life, because I don't think I would have been able to even sit here and have this conversation with you guys had I not taken that step, you know? What was the other question? I have ADD.
So how did you end up doing Minority Reports?
Oh, Minority Reports, yeah, okay.
This is the latest big thing, right?
Right, it's a big thing, right. So, so Minority Reports was a comedy show I came up with. There's a legendary comedy club in LA called the Comedy Store. And the Comedy Store has just the biggest legends, the biggest comedians that you could ever imagine have walked, you know, in those hallways. You know, your George Carlin, your Richard Pryor, Robin Williams, like they've all worked there, they've all got their big breaks. And I went to a Comedy Store and I was like, hey, listen, you know, every time I would go to these comedy clubs, I would never see people like myself. Like, it would always be like people up there talking about turkey sandwiches. Like, that's fine if you want to talk about turkey sandwiches, but that's not something that I can relate to because turkey puts me to sleep. So I was like, I want to talk about stuff that matters to me, and I want to talk about, you know, I want to give platform to people like myself. So I went and pitched them an idea called Minority Reports, with a, you know, it's the movie but with a Z at the end because we're cool. Yeah, I went and pitched it to them and they fell in love with it. They were like, yeah, great. You know, this is before the whole diversity conversation started happening in Hollywood. This is literally like 3 years before the diversity conversation's even taking place. And I made history by being the first Muslim, South Asian, Middle Eastern person ever to even have my own show there, which was a really big deal for them. And then I took that show and I turned it into a TV show, which is in development now, that I'm super proud of. So yeah, that's how I came up with Minority Reports. Yeah, and we've had some amazing comedians. I don't know how much you guys know, but Tiffany Haddish has been on our show, and Nikki Glazer, Eliza Schlesinger, even Kevin Nealon's been on our show. Mark Maron's been on our show, so it's pretty awesome. Speaking of moms, my mom used to bleach my skin growing up in Boston. Anybody got their skin bleached as a child? She's like, yeah, okay, just me. All right. No, nobody got their skin bleached? Oh, liars, get out of here. You know we love our Fair and Lovely and our Jolene bleach cream. They're like, beta, all the hair on the face, just bleach it. Right? So you don't appear all hairy. Gentlemen, you don't know this, but that's what we do to cover up our beards. That's the